What up? We're back again with relaxing music again to tone down my salt from how bad these games are. Like for real though, you guys are ass. But we're just gonna keep going. Week 2, and I'm gonna have some okay retard moments. So enjoy. Number 16, Barry and the Canadian Abomasnows. Number 15, Boomcan and the King Larks at Punjab. Number 14, Emvee and the Farmington for Alligators. And number 13, moving up, is Magic and the Snowpoint City Blizzard. So let's start with Barry and the Canadian Abomasnows. You had a game against Hamu, and you played like garbage. And you prepped like garbage, and that's why you're at the bottom. Hamu kind of destroyed you, so you had a bad performance to go along with playing and prepping like garbage, and that's why you're at 16th. You moved down 8 spots, which is insane, but honestly, you deserve it this week. So first up, you had nothing for Nihiligo at Team Preview, so congrats for that. You, like, literally nothing, and I'm so proud that you had nothing, no prep at all for Nihiligo. Physical Nidoking was a good bring for the dual special walls. I will give you that. That was the one positive I could pull out of this game, is that Physical Nidoking was the correct bring for the Sylveon and the Mantine. Then you brought Physical Greninja again. I don't even know why you're bringing Greninja if you're just going to keep bringing Physical Greninja, because it's not good. It's not good. Greninja can't do it every single week. Stop forcing it. Stop. Physical Nidoking can work because Sheer Force still boosts the moves outside of Earthquake. Physical Greninja doesn't get that, and you can't run Protean, so it's really bad. Then you showed to be Z-move Nidoking, and I just wanted to die. Please never bring that garbage again. And if you keep bringing Z Nidoking, I'm just going to keep consistently ranking you low. You're going to keep losing games by bringing Z-move Nidoking. It's not a set. It's not a set. You lose out on so much damage by not running Life Orb. And if you're not running Life Orb, then you need the speed from Choice Scarf. So it blows my mind and baffles me that you brought physical Z-move Nidoking. Holy crap. Yeah, basically, if it keeps up like this, you're just going to stay at 16th. That's all I really have to say. Boomcan, honestly, your loss wasn't that bad, but I really feel like you didn't prep at all for Snowman's offensive threats. Like, wild, dude. You actually had nothing for Galvantula. Pretty much whatsoever. I didn't have a ton of points about this game because I really just felt like it was a steamroll, and you kind of ended up sacking correctly and being able to claim kills off of that, which was again a positive, and that's why you're not 16th. But I didn't think that you played well at all. And again, you need to prep for Galvantula. Like what? You just had nothing for Galvantula. Big L, fat L from me. Emvee and the Farmington for Alligators, you didn't move down too much. I felt like you played pretty similarly to how you played in week 1. And this is the downside of your team, is that you have no defensive answers to anything. I don't agree with trading rocks, because your team was more weak to rocks, so you should have put more of a focus on taunting the Mew than trading rocks with Cobalion and Mew. I don't know why the hell you just sacked Mimikyu for no reason. You set up while Scizor was still alive and not weakened at all, and Scizor just O-code Mimikyu for free. Yeah. I think you should have had HP Fire. I think I looked at your superior set. You didn't have it. I'm pretty sure you had Gastro Acid on there. You should have had HP Fire for the Scizor. I don't know if the second Leaf Storm was a roll or not, but that was ballsy. If it had hit, then you probably would have been in a better... Sorry, if it had killed, you would have been in a better position. But if it didn't ever kill, then you really needed HP Fire, because plus 2 HP Fire was your only way to break through Scizor at that range. Even if you didn't have it, I really think that it was a bad play when you had Cobalion just sitting there ready to eat the Bullet Punch. Like, there was no reason for you not to just switch into Cobalion. You sacked Primarina and then had literally nothing to break Gliscor. Bad play. Really bad play sacking the Primarina. I think you actually needed it 100% to break the Gliscor, and it would have broken a lot of other stuff. I think you could have gone into other things. Another reason why I think saving Mimikyu would have been better, because then you could have thrown Mimikyu in against the Gliscor, or thrown Superior in if you'd saved Superior, and you would have had more answers to Gliscor, more sacks for Gliscor at the very least. This was a blow-for-blow offensive game, which I don't think is a strong playstyle against your team, because I think your team has a lot of really hard hitters. And in a blow-for-blow sort of hyper-offense game, I actually don't think that it's going to end up this way in all of your matches. It just happened to work out this way against Amish. You didn't really have the kick necessary at the end because you sacked your setup sweepers in Mimikyu and Superior for free. I really think if you'd put yourself in a better position to use Mimikyu, you probably either would have won or brought back a lot of differential. Magic actually you played really well, my dude. You pulled this game into a 1-0, which it blows my mind, but I can't put you higher than this because you were 16th last week, and you still made whack plays, brought whack prep, and you lost still. So I'm not going to put you above everyone else. You lost better than all of the people below you in the rankings, but you still lost. Yeah. I thought you had weird ass plays and predictions. You didn't even bother bringing a Blacephalon answer. I don't know, man. Like AV Eternal Flowet or something. Like come up with something as a Blacephalon answer instead of just having nothing. Yeah, I understand why you didn't click Close Combat with Infernape, but Registeel was obviously going to scout the Infernape set after you'd seen Protect. Choice Infernape is so obvious. You could have gone for U-turn or something. Like, does it really matter? You put yourself in a position where Rotom could defog the webs, and that was really bad. I think you should have played a lot more aggressively around getting Infernape in against the Rotom early on. I think Seviper was surprisingly effective this game. You got really cheeky with the Giga Drain prediction on the Registeel instead of just killing it, and you ended up, sacking Seviper for no reason, and the Registeel was still alive. Again, you're playing around with predictions when you didn't have to. You could have just made the safe play. You could have played safe, and you might have actually come out on top this game. But instead, you ended up sacking Seviper, which was actually a decent offensive threat against his team. I really disagree with bringing Aqua Tail over Earthquake this game. I looked at Archit's team, and the only thing you're hitting better like with Aqua Tail than Earthquake is like Lando Eye, and rock moves are neutral. Tough Claws boosted Stone Edge, etc. I don't know, man. Earthquake would have been so much better. It still gets the Tough Claws boost. Earthquake would have, I don't know, it's more consistent damage, and it's more damage against mons like Tyranitar and Registeel, and you could have actually broken the Registeel with Mega Arrow instead of having to sack your whole team to Registeel. Very weird, and that was really bad prep. Another part of careless prep is that you didn't even bother to try and speed tie the Keldeo with Infernape. I think that's also really bad prep, especially when you're Bandit, because presumably you would Thunder Punch. Actually, you sent me your set, so let me check here. Your Infernape set didn't even have Thunder Punch. I don't know what the hell that prep was then. Why did you even have Earthquake then? Wait, why did you have Earthquake with Close Combat Flare Blitz? That was perfect coverage for the... Okay, I don't understand. Just reply. Okay, yeah. Further on the prep... You brought AV Donphan as your Blacephalon answer, but Rocks would have been really helpful against a Blacephalon Alola Ninetales team. And you also brought 0 answers to Veil. So, like, given Archit didn't bring Veil against you, you had nothing for Veil. You didn't bring Defog, you didn't bring Brick Break, you had nothing for Veil. Veil would have been a decent strategy against you. Granted, you have a ton of wall breakers, so Veil isn't as effective as it could be against other teams. But I think not prepping for Veil is ignorant, and you definitely should have brought that. Next up is 12 through 9. Coventry and Kelders and Jack. Jack, my man, you played really well, and that's why you moved up. Flames and United Victinis, you moved up. Vandril and the Galahan Curlias moved way down because of a very disappointing performance, and Archit and the Bombay Blacephalons are the best loser this week. I actually think it still played out that way in the end, didn't it? All the teams that lost ended up being... No, because Archit won, but I didn't feel like you could move up higher than you did because of the competition. So, but we'll get to that. So Jack and the Coventry King Kelders, first up. Where are you, Jack? I think you played really well not getting caught in the Volturn shenanigans, and I actually really liked the Meowstic bring. I thought that Meowstic had a really good matchup with the screens, and I think you utilized it very well this match. Specs Typhlosion was one of 2 sets I thought that would have done really well, and so I'm glad to see Specs Typhlosion. I think a little bit stronger of a set would have been a Sunny Day Solar Beam set, just so you weren't locked in all the time. But Specs definitely gave you the damage to break through Porygon 2, which I think was important. Nature Power Thunderbolt was absolutely flames, my dude. Absolutely flames, and that basically mitigated the need for a Sunny Day Solar Beam set. Sunny Day Solar Beam set would have done the exact same thing, being realistic here, but you wouldn't have been locked into moves. So, yeah, pretty flames. I don't agree with you trading rocks. Once again, this is another trading rocks matchup. You have Typhlosion and Dragon on your team. I don't think that you need to trade rocks in that scenario. You need to force the fortress into a worse position so that it can't get rocks up. That's how you should be playing that. When your team is weak to rocks, you can't be trading rocks. Again, I think it was a really well played game, and that Volturn trap between Coco and Mega Beedrill is a really hard one to get out of, and I think you played really well and broke Byron's defensive mons pretty easily, actually, with Specs Typhlosion. The issue ended up being his fast threats that you couldn't outspeed, so something to think about there. Flames United Victinis, let me find where your game is. It's up here somewhere. Okay, Hurricane Whimsicott was horrible. I don't understand why you would ever bring Hurricane Whimsicott, especially against that team. Like, I can't even remember. I think Tangrowth's on that team, but like, it doesn't matter because Moonblast is still doing a lot, and Hurricane's not stab. Moonblast definitely was the play. I don't agree again with not having Encore. You really could have locked Celesteal into like Leech Seed or something, or locked Salamence into a setup move. Encore looked pretty, or Suicune I think is on Necro's team as well. Mega Diancie, like Encore was the play. You clearly didn't have Encore. And then I don't understand why you'd start recover stalling with Latios and then end up running out of recovers when you were +6 when you could have just hit the Celesteal in front of you. Granted, I don't know if there was anything else you could have recovered on, but you went through all that effort to set all the way up to +6, at least get a KO out of it, instead of just sacking the Latias. Props to your Taunt Crobat, though. I really think fast Taunt Crobat put in a lot of work, and it forced a lot of bad plays on Necro's part to do with the Crobat, which I think was really solid. I also agree that it was a perfect lead. You had a really good lead matchup, and you put yourself in a really good spot until the Latias went down, which is why I pushed you up, because I didn't think that you lost that poorly. I just thought you had some whack prep. And then one play that I found a mistake on is I actually don't think you should have Fire Punched the Serena. Fire Punch the Serena prediction. I'm pretty sure you're banded Zeraora. I don't really need to fact check that because you ended up Fire Punching twice and then you swapped out. It was a flashy play that led to a KO. I actually think Plasma Fist was your optimal play because even if you weren't two-shotting the Serena, I think you might have two-shot the Serena. It might have been a roll to two-shot the Serena anyways, because I think it did like 30 the first time. So it may have been a roll. But what you could have done is elongated that game with Plasma Fists, and as long as the Serena didn't have Synthesis, you were in a good spot. And if it did have Synthesis, you could get in later and Fire Punch, which would have put you in a different position. Because what ended up happening is you put yourself in a position where the Salamence could set up in front of the Zeraora, instead of being locked into Banded Plasma Fists, which would have threatened the whole team, honestly. I actually don't know if Necro would have had anything for Banded Plasma Fist. So that's what I think stood out to me most, is that even if you lock yourself in a Plasma Fist, you still have a free switch into Crobat on the Serena every single time. And if the Celesteela switches on Crobat, you just taunt the Celesteela and then go right back into Zeraora. So you could have put yourself in a cycle where you won the game, and that was the turn that lost you the game, was Fire Punching the Serena. Honestly, that's my opinion there. Vandrel played like garbage, my friend. You played like absolute trash. You totally underestimated Mano's team. I think you underestimated Mano as a battler too. You've said this multiple times, so I'm not gonna hype. I'm not gonna go over that too much. But that's why you dropped so much, is because it looked lazy. The whole game looked lazy. You ended up trading rocks when he didn't bring Volcarona, and you have Zapdos and Salazzle. Strange. I don't did you, like, he brought a ton of setup in week 1, and it looked like you just didn't have any phasing on your team. Like, you didn't even bother bringing, like, Whirlwind Zapdos or Roar Zapdos to phase any of his setup sweepers, which, like, obliterated your roster, especially, like, Mega Scizor. I know you seem to have Unaware Clefable, but that does nothing against a Mega Scizor. Like, Mega Scizor doesn't give a crap if it can't set up against you. Same with Lando T. Does it really matter? Like, Z-move Lando just blows through that. So that's, I don't know. I saw Zapdos get walled that game. That was weird. Zapdos shouldn't be the one being walled by a Regirock. Zapdos should be walling other things, but I don't know. Again, very strange, very strange game, and I just didn't agree with how you played. I don't know what the hell happened with your calc. And I'm going to calc this while we're in here, because you said that +4 Salazzle didn't kill Alomomola with Sludge Wave, which I find very hard to believe. So I'm either going to be, you know, absolutely shocked right here, or we're going to see that you're calcing super weird. Yeah, +4 Sludge Wave would have killed Alomomola. There's Alomomola, even max HP, max Spadef Alomomola, unless it's a calm nature, like unless it's a fully Spadef variant, and then even then it's a roll to kill if you're timid. If you're timid, +4 Sludge Wave. So if you were modest, which I believe you could have run against his team, it was a really good roll at +4 to kill. I'm baffled. Unless you just didn't have Sludge Wave for some reason, which again I'm baffled. Salazzle could have won that game. Salazzle could have won that game had you killed the Alomomola, and in my calc, +4 wins. I don't know why you had to get to +6 unless he was Assault Vest. That's the only thing I can think of, is if he was Assault Vest Alomomola. That's the only way. Fully Spadef Assault Vest Alomomola. If he's running physically defensive Assault Vest Alomomola, it kills. +4 kills. So, again, we're in the same sort of scenario here where I actually think that was a misplay. And I need more context from that. So feel free to ping me with context on that, because I disagree with the play. Archit and the Bombay Blacephalons, again, you beat Magic, which is why you're only 9th. Magic was 16th last week, and so picking on weak competition is not going to push you up the standings very quickly. But I do think that you played really well. I think the game could have been a lot easier for you. The matchup wasn't that great, again, because your team relies so heavily on Veil, and Magic's team is filled with breakers. I don't know. Registeel was a really good bring. Like I talked about that. The Rock Slide miss really sucked against the Araquanid, but it didn't end up mattering at all because you got rid of webs before it actually affected anything, because you brought in Registeel, which had Clear Body, and then Rotom-Mow, which defogged. You made a really good double on turn 33 from Blacephalon into Keldeo if your idea was to stall sand turns. If it wasn't, then I don't know. But apparently the Aerodactyl wasn't dying to the Shadow Ball in sand because of the Spadef boost, so good double. You ended up catching Magic, which was really surprising, because I actually don't think that Magic considered that possibility. So there you go. I think this was an improvement over your week 1 battle where you never had momentum, but it still ended up being a lot closer than it probably should have been, given that Magic didn't have a Scarfer on his team. Way too close for my comfort. 8 through 5, we've got Young Rocks and the Honolulu Hop-Ips down 7 spots. Byron and Pittsburgh Registeelers picking up a win, moving up 5. Hamu and the Helsinki Heat picking up a win and moving up 3. And Amish and the Singapore Solgalios picking up a win and moving up 1. So we'll start with Rocks and the Honolulu Hop-Ips. My dude, you got bopped. You had a bad matchup, and unfortunately you had to drop a lot, but you played a strong opponent, which is why you're still in the top 8. If you lost that badly to a bad opponent, I probably would have dropped you a lot farther. This early in the season, I mean, late in the season, you're probably not going to see people moving around as much as they're moving around now, just because they're going to be locked into a certain spot. As once we get further through the season, we'll see who's going to be the dominant players and who's going to be the not as dominant players. Yeah, so you actually had nothing for Garchomp, Thundurus, and Volcanion, and so you pulled out 3 differential for that, which I'm a little bit. I think that was a really good play. Sacking the Hut Dragon, I think, was a really good play when you did, unless you had superpower. If you had superpower, I don't agree with it, but if you didn't, then I agree with it for sure. I think Scarf Hydra was probably your play. TBH, I do. You ended up not bringing Scarf Hydra, which was a little bit disappointing to see. The burn on the Venusaur probably didn't end up mattering because those rolls were between 46 and 49. He just stalls you out of synthesis and breaks you. And once you don't have synthesis anymore, Roserade just kills you with extrasensory. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I saw discussion about the burn and whether or not it mattered. Again, I don't think that the burn mattered because he ended up putting you in a position where you had to keep clicking synthesis every single time before you could kill the Volcanion, before you just opted to kill the Volcanion, TBH. The layer of spike actually put a lot of pressure on him late game, and it almost put Roserade. If you had another layer of spikes, you would have won that game because Roserade wouldn't have been able to come in on you. Yeah, so unfortunately, because you were first place and Austin took you down, I got to move you down quite a bit. Sorry. Byron and the Pittsburgh Red Steelers, you made great predictions on the Thunderwave and Nature's Madness plays. Mega B ended up cleaning really well, but you didn't bring anything for Specs Typhlosion. I'm really surprised that you actually had nothing for Specs Typhlosion. It's a really common set, Specs. Like, Choice Typhlosion is very common between Specs and Scarf, and Melodic did not eat those hits well. I really think like an Assault Vest Melodic or a Spadef Melodic or something would have been a lot better that game for you. You had better options to deal with Dragonite anyways, and so I kind of disagree with that. If your answer was Drudagon, that's wild. Drudagon has no recovery, and it doesn't really like to switch into Specs Eruption still. There you go. That's sort of my... It didn't really matter because the Nature Power Typhlosion ended up picking on Melodic anyways. But Drudagon died so early that if you ended up having to bring Melodic as your Typhlosion, secondary Typhlosion answer, that was not a good one. I really think you should have put more priority on getting Rocks up early game against the Typhlosion Dragonite team. He didn't really have removal options. It would have been a really strong way to do it instead of... You were trying to play around the Meowstic, and Meowstic was getting up screens while you just Volt turned on it instead of trying to get Rocks up on it, which I think was your better play. Because behind a Reflect, like, Mega Beedrill couldn't kill it, and I don't think you took into the possibility that he was going to have Reflect after you saw Light Screen, which was very strange. That was a really bad play. Yeah, and then Typhlosion ended up getting 3 kills almost for free, but those were the only 3 kills. Obviously, your speedy offense there ended up picking up the necessary kills for the team. Hamu and the Helsinki Heat. My man Hamu just smacked Barry this week. Zydog just broke extremely well. Scarf Nihilo was a really good bring, and Mantine ended up walling a lot of threats. I had a few problems here. I think Overheat was a very weak play against the Vikavolt. I think Volt Switch was definitely the play, especially when you look at Vikavolt being the only Mantine answer on the roster. He needed to preserve that to break Mantine. So I think Overheat was really weak, as Charizard was a free switch in, and you could have Volt Switched and got momentum. Deoxys defense turns out to be really bad, as it just got broken in 2 hits, and it was completely worthless. Mega Lopunny would have performed probably a better role on the team that game, and you could have just focused on Sylveon and Mantine walling things, possibly Nihilego switching into attacks as well. I definitely disagree with the thought process and the plays there. And then last but not least, Amish for this slide, and the Singapore Solgalios, where's your game? Primarina kind of broke you like really well, but you dealt with it, and that was a big part of the game, was dealing with Primarina, because that was the only thing stopping Gliscor from just walling stuff. I think that was a Scarf Cobalion? I have a question mark next to Scarf, but Gliscor ended up walling it either way, and then you ended up cleaning really well with the Azumarill. Yeah, that's kind of all there was to it. I don't really agree with going blow for blow against the hyper offense team. When you have more of a balanced team, and Mew sort of ended up just like dying for free. I'm pretty sure Mew's in this game. Pretty sure. Um, I don't know. That's all I really had to say. I covered most of the points on Eevee's side of this. So if you just skip to your part, then go back and listen to Eevee's part. Eevee was ranked 14th for reference. Last but not least, the last rankings here. So we've got Snowman and the Tennessee Mutant Ninja Turtles, Necro and the London Lycanrocs, Mano and the Memphis Marshadows, and Monster and the Atlanta Landorus. So we'll start with you, Snowman. Where do I have your game? Oh, you picked on. Excuse me, you picked on Boomcan this week. It's pretty wild to me that Galvantula literally got a KO every single time it came in. Going into Ditto, I really disagreed with against the Aerodactyl. Stone Edge was a pretty free play, and just sacking Ditto for no reason didn't make a lot of sense to me when there were big threats still left on the other side, i.e. Kartana. I really think you should have gone Gallade. A flying move was not obvious there. A rock move was, and Gallade resists that. At the very least, you could have then scouted for the flying move afterwards. So by going into Ditto then on the flying move, because there's no way that there's no way someone's going to rock move twice against a resisted hit. So Toxic Tornadus Therian was a good play. I agree with that for sure. Oh, another reason why you should have gone Gallade, Toxapex was already dead. What the hell? Gallade wasn't doing anything at that point. Should have just gone into it. I would have liked to see more differential from this game from this dominant of a matchup, but a win is a win, and you played pretty well, so I moved you up. Necro and the London Lycanrocs, I moved you down, my dude, because you played very strange in that game. A game that you ended up winning very, very well, and Taunt Crobat put you in a really bad spot. Like the Crobat lead in general, it's a common lead to bring Crobat, and you were on the back foot for a majority of that game. I had a point at turn 25. You could have killed this Latias, but instead you click Leech Seed to save Heavy Slam PP. I don't agree with that. Again, I don't really agree with trying to PP stall at the Latias. A better player would have killed you way earlier and just won the game. You barely lived with DNC, man. Barely lived. But DNC and Celesteela both got really weakened, and it was not an effective way to deal with a +6 Latias. And then turn 38, I was having an okay retard moment because you had Roar Suicune this entire time, and you didn't think of going into that on the Latias? Once you saw his whole moveset, why not? He didn't have Thunderbolt for you. Mind blown. Salamence ended up turning this around because Zeraora was locked into Fire Punch. I don't actually think you deserve this win by any means. Had Flames not locked himself into Fire Punch, he won this game. I am firmly believe that he won this game. I actually don't think you played that well, but it was still such a dominant win at the end, and Salamence ended up really putting in a lot of work at the end of this game that I felt like you didn't deserve to move down as much as someone like Rox, who kind of just like got blown back in that game despite it being the same scoreline. Mano, you played really well, dude. You didn't have as dominant of a win, which is why you're in second and not first. You had really strong pivoting, and the setup spam was just broken. One big thing is that Pangoro is not a Mega Alakazam answer, and I want this to be known to everybody. A dark fighting type is never, if someone has Scrafty, I can't remember, it's not a Mega Zamanswer. That thing runs Dazzling Gleam fairly commonly, especially in draft format. And I don't think that the Energy Ball crit mattered because of that. I think you probably just died the next turn to Dazzling Gleam. Anyways, Mega Zam's a big threat, and you just didn't have a great switch into it. So it ended up having to go that way. Excuse me. And then last but not least is the Atlanta Landorus and Monster. Quite the dominant performance. Really greedy play going to +4 with a Garchomp, but ended up working out, and Garchomp performed its role. I mean, it broke that team hard. You ended up playing into the Volt turn, but then you broke it by making an aggressive play with the HP Fire early on. That was a really strong veteran move, and I think that showed throughout the rest of the game. The biggest misplay I found is that you ended up sacking Fundy Eye for no reason when it could have broken, and then Garchomp could have been a secondary breaker later, or at least a way to beat the Venusaur instead of relying on Flamethrower. And I know for a fact you've used Ember before, so like you know that Sucker Punch is a thing on that. Why didn't you play around the Sucker Punch by going into anything else? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. That's it for me, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. And again, any comments you have about your builds and stuff, I actually asked a lot of people for for their builds and stuff this week to sort of give myself a little bit more context, which ended up giving a little bit more insight into sort of how I thought you guys played. If you think that you played better than I thought, then you're crazy, man. I have an unbiased opinion about these games, and if you think you played better, you're a wild human being. Because I actually think these were very fair rankings. Granted, I don't think that my rankings are all that accurate, but my summaries about the game are. So I don't want to hear shit about the summaries. Blast me for the rankings all you want, but the summaries are very accurate, and I had a lot of insight into some of the turns. In particular, the Flames versus Necro game. I'm a firm believer about the Plasma Fist play, and that game could have gone wildly different had one turn not been different, or one turn been different. Sorry. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy, and I'll be back for week 3, of course.